why the global supply chain is in turmoil now, and the paths to real solutions. For years, the global supply chain was almost invisible. Products arrived on shelves on time, factories ran smoothly, and consumers rarely thought about where things came from. Many thought it was a normal routine without or less obstacles. Then suddenly everything broke: empty shelves, shipping delays, exploding freight costs, factory shutdowns, geopolitical tensions disrupting trade routes. What was once a finely tuned global machine is now under constant stress. More attention is now turned to supply chain, how to resolve operational issues to mitigate risk. So the real question is not whether the global supply chain is in turmoil, but why it is happening now, and more importantly, how we can fix it. We will discuss about this subject in 3 parts: why global supply chains became so fragile, what specific shocks pushed the system into turmoil, and the realistic paths toward long-term solutions. Part 1: the hidden fragility of global supply chains. Efficiency over resilience. For the last 30 years, supply chains were optimized around one core idea: maximum efficiency at the lowest cost. Companies embraced just-in-time production, global sourcing from the cheapest suppliers, minimal inventories, a term specialization across countries. This model worked beautifully as long as nothing went wrong, but it left supply chains with very little margin for error. A factory shutdown in one country could stop production across entire continents. A single missing component could halt billion-dollar industries. The system was fast and cheap but brittle. Over-concentration of production. Another major weakness was concentration risk. Many industries became dependent on a handful of countries for manufacturing, a few ports for global trade, limited suppliers for critical components. For example, semiconductors concentrated in East Asia, pharmaceuticals relying on a small number of ingredient suppliers, consumer goods flowing through a few mega ports. This lack of diversification made disruptions systemic instead of local. Part 2: the shocks that pushed the system into crisis. 1. The pandemic shocked. The COVID-19 pandemic was the first real stress test. Factories shut down, ports closed, borders tightened. At the same time, consumer demand shifted violently from services to goods. Supply collapsed, demand surged. The result was a global mismatch that rippled through shipping, manufacturing, and logistics. Even organizations like World Trade Organization warned that trade recovery would be uneven and unstable. The pandemic didn't create supply chain problems, it exposed them. 2. Logistics and shipping cases. Demand rebounded. Logistics couldn't keep up. We saw container shortage, port congestion, freight rates increasing by 5 to 10 times on some routes. Major arteries of global trade such as the Suez Canal and key Asian European shipping lanes became choke points. A single blocked route could delay thousands of shipments worldwide. Global trade depends on smooth physical flows, and those flows proved far more fragile than expected. 3. Geopolitics and trade fragmentation. Supply chains are no longer just economic systems, they are geopolitical tools. Trade tensions, sanctions, and export controls are reshaping how countries think about supply security. Governments now prioritize strategic autonomy, national security, control over critical industries. The shift has accelerated deglobalization pressures and regional trade blocs. The era of frictionless globalization is over. For energy and raw material volatility, energy prices and raw material availability have become wildly unstable. Conflicts, sanctions, and energy transitions have increased production costs, disrupted mining and extraction, made transport more expensive, and unpredictabilities that depend on steel, chemicals, fertilizers, or fuel face constant uncertainty, and those costs move straight through the supply chain. 5. Climate and environmental disruptions. Climate change is no longer a future risk, it's a present operational threat. Extreme weather events disrupt ports and waterways, agricultural production, transport, infrastructure. Floods and heat waves now affect global trade routes every year, adding another layer of unpredictability. Part 3. Why fixing supply chains is so hard. Only reason turmoil persists is that there is no single solution. Supply chains are global interconnected layer and politically sensitive. Fixing one weakness often creates another. For example, holding more inventory increases costs, rationing production raises prices, diversifying suppliers reduces efficiency. Challenge is not eliminating risk, it's managing trade-offs intelligently. Part 4. The paths toward real solutions. 1. From just-in-time to just-in-case. Companies are rethinking inventory strategies. Instead of ultra-lean systems, firms are holding strategic safety stocks, identifying critical components, mapping Tier 2 and Tier 3 suppliers. This doesn't mean abandoning efficiency, it means buying insurance against disruption. 2. Supplier diversification and regionalization. Of the most powerful solutions is diversification. Companies are reducing dependence on single countries, developing multi-supplier, strategizing, pending near-shoring and friend-shoring regional supply. Chains may cost more, but they are faster, safer, and more controllable. 3. Digital visibility and data-driven supply chains. You can't manage what you can't see. Leading companies are investing in end-to-end supply chain visibility, real-time tracking, predictive analytics, and digital supply chains can detect disruptions earlier, simulate alternative routes, support faster decision-making. Visibility is becoming a competitive advantage. 4. Rethinking global trade policy. Governments also have a role to play. Smarter trade policies should focus on securing critical goods, maintaining open trade where possible, avoiding excessive protection. Global coordination, even if imperfect, remains essential. Institutions like the World Trade Organization will be under pressure to adapt to a more fragmented world. 5. Building resilience as a strategy, not a cost. Biggest mindset shift is this: resilience is not a cost, it is a strategic investment. Companies that survive disruptions recover faster, protect customer trust, gain market share when competitors fail. In today's world, resilience is performance. Conclusion: the new normal of global supply chains. Global supply chain is not broken, it is being redesigned under pressure. A metamorphosis under general politics tensions. The age of pure efficiency is over. New thinking is emerging. The age of resilient, adaptive, and strategic supply chains has begun. Better to ensure smooth and consistent deliveries. Turmoil will continue, but so will innovation. The winners will not be those who try to return to the old system, but those who accept reality and build supply chains fit for a volatile world. And in this new era, supply chain strategy is no longer a back-office function, it is a core driver of economic power and business survival. Thank you for watching. Please support this channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing for more topics. See you on the next one.